Ukraine's secret weapon has shocked Russia to its core, not because it is one single invention, but because it is a collection of tools, tactics, and strategies that have completely changed the battlefield dynamics, and the Kremlin is now in panic as it scrambles to respond to this sudden shift in the balance of power. Ukraine has managed to combine long-range missiles, kamikaze drones, naval drones, and cutting-edge domestic innovation into one coherent system of warfare that reaches deep into Russian territory, strikes at high-value targets in Crimea, and disrupts supply chains that Moscow once considered untouchable. This combination has forced Russia to move critical assets away from the front lines, weakened its logistical support, and left its leadership in a position of deep anxiety about the future. 15 seconds in. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. From the very start of the war, many assumed Ukraine would be too weak to resist Russia's overwhelming military might, but necessity breeds innovation, and Kiev has proven that by creating a vast ecosystem of low-cost, high-impact weapons that can outmaneuver expensive Russian systems. These secret weapons are not just about hardware, they are about a mindset. Ukraine's engineers, military planners, and field commanders have learned to work faster than Russia, producing drones and missiles that can be adapted on the fly, integrating foreign aid into their designs, and launching attacks that constantly keep Moscow off balance. What makes Russia panic the most is that these weapons are cheap to build compared to the billions Moscow spends trying to defend against them, and the sheer volume of strikes overwhelms even the most advanced air defenses. One of the most critical components of Ukraine's secret weapon is the long-range missile program. Ukraine has quietly developed and upgraded its own missile systems, such as the Neptune anti-ship missile, and modified them to strike targets much farther than originally designed. These missiles have successfully hit Russian airfields, ammunition depots, and naval bases in occupied Crimea, proving that even areas Russia thought were safe are within reach. On top of that, Ukraine has received standoff weapons from Western partners, giving it even greater reach deep into Russian-held territory. Every time these missiles hit, they don't just cause physical destruction, they send a psychological message to Moscow: nowhere is safe. That sense of vulnerability eats away at Russian morale and forces the Kremlin to divert resources to protect rear areas, leaving front lines weaker and stretched thinner. Alongside missiles, drones have become the backbone of Ukraine's secret strategy. What started as small quadcopters used for reconnaissance has now grown into a massive arsenal of loitering munitions, kamikaze drones, and swarms designed to overwhelm defenses. Ukrainian officials have openly stated that they are launching thousands of drone strikes per month, turning the battlefield into a constant nightmare for Russian troops. These drones fly low, evade radar, and strike with precision. They can hit fuel depots, artillery batteries, and even expensive air defense systems that cost millions, while the drone itself costs only a fraction. The math is devastating for Russia. Every destroyed system represents not just a tactical loss, but an economic one. Drones have turned the war into a contest of persistence, and Ukraine's persistence is proving far more effective than Moscow anticipated. Naval drones are another shocking element of Ukraine's secret arsenal. When the war began, Russia's Black Sea Fleet had near total dominance, but now, naval drones have made Russian ships afraid to operate close to Ukrainian shores. These small, explosive-laden vessels travel across the water at high speed, guided remotely, and strike with deadly effect. They have been used to attack Russian warships, port facilities, and even bridges connecting Crimea to Russia. The Kerch Bridge, a symbol of Russian control, has been struck multiple times, causing panic in Moscow and shaking confidence among Russian citizens. For the Kremlin, the nightmare is clear. Ukraine has found a way to challenge Russia's naval supremacy without needing a large fleet of its own. This asymmetry is at the heart of Ukraine's secret weapon, using creativity and innovation to level the playing field against a much larger opponent. The panic inside Russia is visible in how the Kremlin is responding. Moscow has had to move critical aircraft away from Crimean airfields, relocate ships to safer ports, and deploy more air defenses around key cities and supply lines. Each of these moves comes at a cost. Every missile system moved to defend a depot in Crimea is one less system available to protect troops on the front lines. Every ship kept away from contested waters is one less tool to project power in the Black Sea. Russia's resources are not infinite, and Ukraine's strategy is deliberately designed to stretch them thin. In many ways, Ukraine's secret weapon is not just the hardware, but the strategy of forcing Russia to spend 10 times more to defend against each strike. Another key reason why Ukraine's secret weapon is so effective is the rapid feedback loop between battlefield use and innovation. Unlike Russia, where bureaucracy and corruption slow down progress, Ukraine's teams of engineers and private defense startups can take lessons from the front, tweak designs, and deliver new drones or missiles in weeks, not years. This wartime adaptation means that by the time Russia learns how to defend against one type of drone, Ukraine has already introduced a new model with improved range, stealth, or guidance systems. The cycle of innovation is relentless, and Russia cannot keep up. This explains why Moscow's electronic warfare and jamming tactics often fail, because Ukraine constantly updates its software and navigation systems to bypass them. Western support has also supercharged Ukraine's efforts. Not only have advanced weapons been supplied, but equally important are the components, electronics, guidance chips, and communication systems that Ukraine's defense industry incorporates into its own designs. The combination of foreign assistance and domestic creativity has created a hybrid system where Western precision meets Ukrainian improvisation. This marriage has proven lethal for Russia, and it is why the Kremlin continues to pressure Western countries to stop deliveries. But so far, the flow of assistance has not stopped, and each new package of weapons increases Moscow's fear. The psychological impact on Russian soldiers cannot be overstated. Imagine being stationed at what you believe is a safe airfield hundreds of kilometers from the front, only to be woken at night by the sound of explosions as Ukrainian drones rain down destruction. Or imagine sailing on a warship in the Black Sea and knowing that at any moment a swarm of naval drones could appear on the horizon. That constant fear wears down morale, makes troops less effective, and creates an environment where desertion and hesitation grow. Panic at the strategic level translates into panic at the tactical level, and that ripple effect is exactly what Ukraine aims to achieve. But there are risks and challenges for Ukraine too. Every escalation raises the risk of Russia retaliating with heavier strikes, and the danger of civilian casualties is always present. Precision requires intelligence, and even with drones and satellites, mistakes can happen. Each strike that misses its intended target gives Russia propaganda material to rally domestic support. Furthermore, Ukraine must maintain a steady supply of components and funding to keep production lines active. If Western support falters, the scale of these operations could shrink. However, so far, Ukraine has demonstrated resilience in keeping the pipeline open, even setting up domestic factories to reduce dependence on imports. Looking at the bigger picture, Ukraine's secret weapon represents a transformation in modern warfare. This war is showing that cheap, distributed, and innovative systems can challenge large, traditional militaries. Instead of relying on massive tank armies or fleets of jets, a smaller nation can use swarms of drones, precision missiles, and asymmetric naval assets to inflict disproportionate damage. The lessons being learned here will shape conflicts around the world in the future. Russia is not just fighting Ukraine, it is fighting the future of warfare itself. For the Kremlin, the panic comes from the realization that time is not on its side. Every month Ukraine produces more drones, more missiles, and more naval strike craft. Every month Western aid introduces new technologies, and every month Russian assets in Crimea and beyond become more vulnerable. The so-called safe zones that Moscow relied on are shrinking, and with them, the aura of invincibility that Russia once projected is disappearing. This is not just a military setback, it is a political one. Vladimir Putin built his reputation on strength and control, but Ukraine's secret weapon has shown cracks in that image, and the Russian public is beginning to notice. As the war continues, we can expect Ukraine to reveal even more innovations. Reports suggest that artificial intelligence is being integrated into drone targeting, making them even more autonomous and harder to stop. Naval drones are being upgraded with longer ranges and heavier payloads. Missiles are being refined to evade air defenses with new guidance systems. Each upgrade increases Russia's panic, because the Kremlin knows it is fighting an enemy that adapts faster than it can defend. In conclusion, Ukraine's secret weapon is not one machine or one missile. It is a philosophy of warfare built on speed, adaptability, and relentless pressure. It is the use of drones to overwhelm, missiles to reach deep, naval craft to contest the seas, and industry to produce at scale. It is the psychological warfare of making Russia feel unsafe in its own strongholds. This combination has already forced Moscow to change its entire strategy, weakened its control over Crimea, and created fear among its troops and leadership. The panic in Russia is real, and as Ukraine continues to innovate, that panic will only grow. If you've stayed with me this far, you can now see how Ukraine's so-called secret weapon is actually a multi-layered approach to modern warfare that is rewriting the rules. This is not just about Ukraine's survival. It's about the future of global conflict, where small, agile nations can stand up to larger powers with brains, not just brawn. And for Russia, that is the true nightmare. That's the end of this deep dive. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more detailed analysis of how modern warfare is evolving, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and share this video so others can understand the reality behind the headlines. I'll see you in the next one.